So here's the thing about the Ramparts of Ice. The English title sounds like a single wall. One girl. One defense mechanism. One trauma arc. That is not what the Japanese says. The original title is Koori no Jouheki. And Jouheki, Jouheki, is an architectural term for fortress walls. Plural. A full defensive perimeter around a castle or a city. The kind of wall that takes a whole community to build, and a whole community to bring down. 4 teenagers. 4 walls. One story that only ends when all 4 of them let it go. That gap between the English reading and the Japanese reading? That is the entire conversation we're having today. Before we get into the analysis, look, the basics. MAL 7.96, 97,409 members, ranked number 804 overall as of June 2026. On Filmarks, Japan's leading film and anime review platform, over 2,600 user reviews, as of June 2026, with a 4.1 star average. AniList 79% mean score. These are not breakout numbers, but they are consistently solid across both Western and Japanese platforms, which is already interesting given how differently the two audiences are reading it. The anime premiered April 2nd, 2026 on TBS and 28 affiliated networks in Japan. Netflix streaming started April 3rd in Japan/April 2nd globally, day 1, same-day English dub included. And this is where it gets interesting from a publishing standpoint. Before it was an anime, Koori no Jouheki was a vertical scroll line manga webtoon, the kind of format Japanese publishers were still treating as not real manga when Agasawa Koucha started posting it on a minor platform called XOY around 2017. She moved to LINE Manga Indies, won a Shueisha Prize in 2018, and from January 2020 to April 2022 ran 117 chapters on official LINE Manga. That is the complete story, done, for years before the anime. Cumulative views on LINE Manga exceeded 190 million as of spring 2026. Physical copies, including digital, surpassed 2.5 million as of spring 2026. And here is the publishing plot twist. Shueisha eventually collected it into 14 volumes under the Jump Comics imprint. Jump. The most famous shonen imprint in Japan. Publishing a webtoon romance. That structural moment matters for understanding how the story got read. The author is Agasawa Koucha. And in 2026 she became something genuinely rare, an author with 2 different anime adaptations airing in the same calendar year. Her second series, Seihantai na Kimi to Boku, You and I Are Polar Opposites, had its anime premiere in January 2026. The manga serializes on Jump Plus. Koori no Jouheki followed in April. 2 anime, same year, same author, launched from an indie webtoon 8 years earlier. Critics in Japan describe her signature style as this kind of split, comedic visual exaggeration, slightly heiseira is the phrase they use, combined with unusual restraint in how she depicts emotional ambivalence. The comedy is a surface. Underneath it, these characters are genuinely complicated. That double register is part of why the ensemble reading lands so differently depending on where you first encounter her work. In February 2025, Comic Natalie ran the first Tate-Yomi Manga Award, a user-voted prize specifically for vertical scroll format works. Koori no Jouheki took first place in the completed works category. That win matters more than a niche format award usually would, because the Tate-Yomi category barely existed as a recognized literary space in Japan a decade ago. Webtoons had 190 million views, sure, but were they literature? This award said yes. And the structural implication is this: webtoon native storytelling, shorter chapters, full color, emotionally direct cuts, can produce work with genuine critical standing, not just engagement metrics. The story won the award in completed form. Japanese readers already had all 117 chapters when the anime was announced. They knew the full arc of all 4 characters before episode 1 ever aired. Look, Koyuki is the character the marketing leads with, and for good reason. Hikawa Koyuki, projects an aura of deliberate social distance. She was bullied in middle school, the damage was tied to her basketball club, orchestrated by a classmate after a shift in senpai relationships. What makes her psychologically interesting is that the manga describes her as sensitive to others' emotions. Noticing subtle shifts, she is not oblivious. She is hypervigilant, turned inward. Her breakthrough is framed in the manga with an almost mythological phrase, the sound of a curse breaking. Not gradual relaxation. A spell snapping. Minato calls her Koyun, from day one. That nickname is the first thing that bypasses the wall without her permission. And that is the story Western audiences find most legible, a girl with damage, a boy who keeps showing up. And this is where it gets interesting, and where Western readings tend to drop the thread. Lamamiya Minato, looks like he has no wall at all. He closes distance, he reads rooms, he gives Koyuki a nickname on day one. But that zero-distance persona is itself a construct. The Japanese character description is explicit, outwardly rational and well-adjusted. Internally he suppresses feelings and fears being hurt. His wall is suppressed emotion wearing the mask of social ease. He briefly dates a character named Momoka, recognizes her manipulative dynamic, and ends it, and that beat is telling, because he can identify emotional manipulation in others precisely because he practices a version of it himself. Netflix's English character description for Minato reads, a male student who actively closes the distance with others. That framing turns him into a device for Koyuki's story. The manga does not agree. Azumi Miki, is called the goddess of class 5. And NGL, that framing is the whole problem. In middle school she was apparently closer to what her peers would describe as a rough-edged, loud, active kid, the kind of girl who would have been mocked for being too much. High school debut meant building a new persona so completely that even Koyuki, her childhood friend, rarely sees the original underneath. Her wall is the gap between performance and self. The Piccoma platform describes it as being exhausted and unable to express her true self. Being put on a pedestal became its own form of isolation. She and Yota are the second romantic thread in this ensemble, and her arc structurally mirrors Koyuki's. Both women are hiding something, both have built an identity-level wall, and both need to choose authentic connection over the curated version of themselves. The resolution of her arc is not a subplot. It is half the ending. And then there is Yota. Tallest character. Worst eyesight. Wears contacts. Koyuki's internal narration compares him to a giraffe when she sees him moving toward her. His wall is the most understated of all four, which is probably why Western audiences find him the most endearing without quite being able to explain why. He has family disconnection, lacking belonging at home, and his default mode is restraint and quiet resignation rather than authentic emotional expression. At one point in the manga he resolves to just continue cherishing feelings silently for Miki rather than risk rejection. He was the one who helped Koyuki during a harassment incident, and that instinct to protect others makes it structurally harder for him to show anyone his own vulnerability. One Western reviewer called him really endearing but also destined to remain on the periphery of the real drama. That is capturing exactly how his quiet wall gets misread as contentment. So look, the Western critical reception to this show was genuinely mixed, and I want to be precise about why. One reviewer called it low-key to the point of excess, another called it pretty middle of the road. A third called it the most frustrating series of the season while also saying they wanted to embrace it. Anime feminist Sai Catwell praised Koyuki's character strength. ANN's Caitlin Moore drew comparisons to Sei Hantai na Kimi to Boku. Both critics anchored their analysis on individual character performance rather than ensemble structure. Ani list, 79% mean score, 1,087 favorites. Engaged but not breakout. And Netflix's marketing did not help reframe this, a global key art-centered Koyuki's face. English character descriptions foreground the Koyuki-Minato dynamic. The quiet girl unlocked by persistent boy template is a recognizable genre pattern in Western anime reception. This show fits that surface. It does not fit that depth. The term Japanese reviewers reach for consistently is gunsujiki, gunsobeki. Ensemble drama. A narrative structure where multiple characters carry equal narrative weight. That is not one minority critical reading, it is the default framing on Piccoma, in Fellmark's reviews, in the Denjiki online coverage of the final volume. The phrase, all four carry a wall, is a commonplace in Japanese fan discourse, not a thesis you have to argue for. And the structural reason is legible. Japanese readers had completed the full 117 chapters by April 2022. For years before the anime. They knew that Volume 14 resolves both romantic threads simultaneously, Koyuki and Minato deepening their relationship on her birthday, Miki visiting Yota, all within the same narrative frame. Neither couple is the main one. The story structurally insists on it. A real sound analysis described the emotional register as bittersweet youthful hesitation and longing, language that applies to all four characters, not just Koyuki. So here's the thing, the split in readings is not accidental. It is the product of three compounding factors. First, Netflix's marketing architecture centered Koyuki's face in global key art and framed Minato as a device for her story. Second, Western anime reception has a well-established quiet girl unlocked by persistent boy genre template, and this show's surface fits that template. Third, and this is the structural one, Webtoon's chapter-by-chapter release model rewards the arc that hooks first. Koyuki hooks first. Japanese readers already knew all four arcs mattered when the anime began. Western Netflix audiences are encountering the story serially, episode by episode, where Koyuki's arc dominates early pacing. The format shaped the reading. And this is where it gets interesting from a media studies angle. Same show, same dub, same Netflix platform, two completely different interpretive frames. Platform architecture does not just distribute stories. It structures how we categorize them. And then there is the production story, which is its own separate arc. Studio Kai was founded in June 2019, ADK Emotions offshoot, Gonzo transferring part of its anime production and IP business into the new entity. Director Mankyu came in having previously directed The Ice Guy and His Cool Female Colleague in 2023, notably, also a show about emotional distance in characters who struggle to lower their guard. Then, on April 13, 2026, 11 days after Koori no Jouheki's premiere, Studio Kai announced insolvency. Net loss of 565 million yen in fiscal year 2025, with multiple documented loss years since its founding, including 402 million yen in FY 2019 and 165 million yen in FY 2021. The studio had maintained a full-time employee model rather than freelance outsourcing, and the structural economics caught up. The show continued production. Two other spring 2026 Studio Kai titles continued alongside it. The insolvency is part of this anime's own story, whether we wanted it to be or not. The anime's emotional restraint is not accidental, it was built by a specific set of decisions. Series composition by Nakanishi Yasuhiro, who has to compress 117 chapters of Webtoon material into roughly one core. Character design by Ajino Miki, translating full-color vertical panels into widescreen animation. Sound direction by Yoshida Kohei. And then the music. OP theme Tomei, meaning transparent or see-through, by Novel Bright. ED theme Sakasama, meaning upside down or inverted, by Polka Dot Stingray. Both are J-rock bands with genuine domestic followings rather than typical anime tie-up acts. The choice signals something about who the show is for. It is aimed at people who already have music taste, not at the anime merchandise demographic. That is consistent with the Webtoon native lineage of the source material. The final volume, Volume 14, released February 4, 2025, is explicit about what this story was always about. Both couples resolve simultaneously. Koyuki deepens things with Minato on her birthday. Miki visits Yota. Neither resolution is framed as secondary to the other. The manga closes with all four characters remaining close, class changes notwithstanding, with the narrative explicitly describing how Koyuki's icy personality and frozen environment have gradually thawed and melted. The metaphor is applied to the group dynamic, not solely to her. Investment in Miki and Yota was comparable to investment in Koyuki and Minato. The audience was already reading it as an ensemble. The title Ramparts of Ice, plural, architectural, fortress scale, was a promise the story kept. So here is the bigger question the show forces. Koori no Jouheki is among the first Japanese Webtoon native series to reach Netflix global simultaneous release with same-day English dub. A complete 14-volume print run from a major publisher, and a production studio behind it. However troubled that studio turned out to be. Whether Western audiences eventually discover the ensemble reading or continue with the Koyuki-centric one may tell us something important. Not about the show's quality, but about how platform architecture shapes interpretation. The Tate-Yomi Manga Award 2024 was the first broadly recognized Japanese award specifically for vertical scroll format. Koori no Jouheki's #1 placement established it as a canonical title for the entire format. The Webtoon pipeline to global anime is real now. And the translation, not just linguistic translation, but interpretive translation across reading cultures, is still being worked out in real time. That is the conversation this show is inside. So, for teenagers, for walls, one story that only resolves when all four lower their guard together. The Ramparts of Ice. Whether you are reading it as Koyuki's trauma recovery arc or as a Gunsuji ensemble about a whole group, both readings are in the show. One of them is the title's promise. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And subscribe if you want more deep dives like this.